Now, if somebody had asked me at the time what my highest value was, I probably would have told them it was achievement. I was winning and making more money than I ever had before, but for some reason it didn't feel like I expected it to. Not knowing exactly what was going on, I instinctively started looking for answers, and this is when I started picking up books and reading. I remember picking up the book Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, which gets you to do a lot of reflecting and thinking about the things that bring you meaning in your life. I started to look back on my poker journey and what times I found most fun and enjoyable. For me, this was always when I was shot taking higher stakes. I started to break down exactly what it was about shot taking higher that I enjoyed. Did I like the competition? Yeah. Did I like the challenge? Yeah. But it felt like there was something deeper that I was missing. When I did some further reflecting, I pinpointed that the thing I liked the most about shot taking higher was leveling up. I liked the process of realizing I wasn't good enough and working harder to get better. I loved making progress and moving towards a better version of myself. And then it hit me. The thing I really valued wasn't achievement. It was growth. This might seem like a subtle difference, but for me, this was massive. The reason I was feeling stuck right now is because I felt like I'd stopped growing. I got lost in trying to achieve things, which is what I thought I wanted, but what I really wanted was just to learn, improve, and get better. As I reflected further, my other values started to become obvious as well. And at this time, they were health, relationships, freedom, and fun. I noticed when I was feeling my best, when I was feeling most fulfilled, was when I was prioritizing my values. If you're feeling a bit lost or unfulfilled right now, I can bet it's because you're neglecting some of the things that matter the most. Maybe it's your health. Poker is going well, but you've put on weight and you feel out of shape. Maybe it's your relationships. You've put so much time into poker over the last few years that you haven't had time to nurture your friendships or romantic relationship. Most of us have 3 to 5 core values that matter more to us than everything else. Once I knew my values, this opened up the next big question. How do I create a life that has me living in alignment with my values consistently? Step 2, create a life in alignment with your core values. Now, at this stage of my life, things were very out of sync. I was grinding 10-hour days, 6 days a week to hit my Supernova Elite rakeback. Although I was making good money, I didn't feel like I was growing or progressing. I wasn't seeing my friends much, and I wasn't even creating freedom in my life. Sure, I was my own boss, but sitting at a computer 10 hours a day wasn't exactly my vision of freedom. The only value that I was relatively in alignment with was my health, as I was in the habit of hitting the gym every day after my grind. So I started to ask myself some questions. The first was, what can I do on a daily or weekly basis that allows me to feel like I'm growing? The first thing that came to mind was learning something every day. I realized that poker used to fulfill this for me, but now it wasn't. Rather than set myself more poker study time, I decided I wanted to develop a reading habit and allow myself to read whatever I was interested in. This is one of the best decisions I ever made, and it instantly brought enjoyment back to my days. In fact, one of the reasons I'm coaching now and making this video today is because I developed the habit of daily learning. I asked myself the same question with my relationships, with freedom, and with fun. And I soon started to see that I could make subtle shifts in all of these areas that made me feel more connected to my days. Rather than feeling like life was a grind, I started to get that enjoyment back in my days and started going to bed with a feel of accomplishment. I didn't have to do everything perfectly. I just had to do things in alignment with my values more regularly. So for you, what does a life in alignment with your core values look like on a daily or weekly basis? Often, there are just 1 or 2 key behaviors for each of your values that you need to keep on top of. Then the final challenge I experienced was what to do when shit gets hectic and you get out of sync. Step 3. Recalibrating when alignment is lost. Now, in an ideal world, we'd be able to create a perfect week where all of our values are neatly in alignment. But that's not how life works. Often we have times where we're intensely focused on 1 or 2 things and we don't have time for the other things. Maybe you're at the World Series in Vegas right now and all your attention is on playing as much poker as possible. As a result, you don't spend any time on your relationships, apart from the odd friend you bump into at the casino. Or maybe you're doing a W Cup series and you don't have the time in your days to hit the gym like you usually do. Going out of balance in the short term is fine, as long as you have a plan for how to regain balance later. If you go out of sync for too long, however, it takes a lot more effort to correct. I like to think of the analogy of a pendulum. At rest, it's nicely balanced in the middle. It takes no energy or effort to maintain. If I push it for one way, however, it's going to swing back the other way before it finally gets back to balance. For example, let's say you work really hard for a few weeks without recovering. You've pushed the pendulum far this way. Now, you're either going to burn out or you're going to have to swing back the other way with a few days or a week to recover before you get back to this balance point of equilibrium. Or say you put on 10 pounds eating badly over the summer, that puts you over here. You're now going to have to diet for weeks or months and exercise, which puts you over here to get you back to this baseline state in the middle. So the lesson to learn here is the closer you keep to the balance point, the less effort you need to put in to maintain it. If we're just to the side, we can course correct easily. If we're far off over this side, it takes a lot of energy to swing back before we can finally get back to this equilibrium point. This is a really useful analogy to remember, as in each area of your life, you have an optimal balance point. It's unrealistic to always stay there, but it's good to consciously be aware of when you've drifted too far either side. A good practice is to do a weekly review and a check-in with which of your values have gone out of alignment. Do you then continue to let them stay out of alignment, knowing it's going to take more effort to get them back into alignment later, or do you make some small adjustments now to make your life easier? Let's use the example of playing a W Cup series online, which I think is around 21 days. If you try to play it every day, you're likely going to burn yourself out, or at the very least, you're going to need a full week to recover after the series is over. Unless you are chasing leaderboards, you might decide that it's better to take a full day off every week to recover, to pit stop, so the end of the series, you maybe only need a few days off, and then you can get back into your normal grind. Another example is you notice that at the end of the week, you've put on 3 pounds because you've been going to restaurants and eating some extra desserts with your friends. Rather than waiting until you're confident in your genes, you decide to have a week of no desserts and extra walking to get yourself back to your baseline weight. The good news is you can make relatively small changes when you catch misalignments early. So let's summarize.